Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Battle of the Bulge, the German offensive against the Allies during World War II. Now, this was called the Greatest American Battle of the War by Winston Churchill. The Battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes region of Belgium was Adolf Hitler's last offensive in World War II against the Western Front. Hitler's aim was to split the Allies in their drive towards Germany. Now, this was after D-Day, so by then the Americans and the other allies have already pushed the Germans back so far into their land, and Adolf Hitler saw this as unacceptable and that he would not allow this, so he just set up this offensive in order to try to push back the Americans and retake their land that they have lost. And this ended up in the Germans' troops' failure to divide Britain, France, and America with the Ardennes offensive, and that ended up paving the way to the Allies' victory, which is the exact opposite of what the Nazis wanted. Now, this battle lasted a brutal 6 weeks, from December 16th, 1944 to January 25th, 1945. The battle, also called the Battle of the Ardennes, took place during the frigid weather conditions. So there was ice, snow, sleet, hail, and rain. Now, with some 30 German divisions. Now, a division usually holds 10,000 to 16,000 soldiers. Now, with these divisions, they attacked battle-fatigued American troops across 85 miles of densely wooded Ardennes forest. Now, these troops had already been battle-fatigued because they've been fighting so much to push the Germans back into their land. And the Germans saw that was a good opportunity to attack them again with a giant offensive, and it would possibly halt the Allies' attack and possibly push them back so the Germans could retake their land. Now, as the Germans drove into the Ardennes, the Allied line took a large appearance of a bulge, giving the name the Battle of the Bulge. And the Allies thought it would be better to group together and fortify that specific area, and the Germans would try to push this area, and as they attacked, they couldn't push through, which would be very detrimental and would cause many deaths on the German and Allied part. Now, the battle proved to be the costliest ever fought by the U.S. Army, which suffered over 100,000 casualties. Now, the former serene wooded region of the Ardennes was hacked into chaos by the fighting as the Americans dug in against the German advance at St. Vith Elsenborn Ridge, Houffalize, and later Bastogne, which was defended by the 101st Airborne Division, which were United States Air Paratroopers. And the Germans achieved a total surprise attack on the morning of the 16th, December 1944, due to the combination of Allied overconfidence, preoccupation with Allied offensive plans, and poor aerial reconnaissance due to bad weather. Now, the American forces bore the brunt of the attack. Now, the Germans had attacked a weakly defended section of the Allied line, taking advantage of the heavily overcast weather conditions that grounded the Allies' superior air forces. Now, fierce American resistance on the northern shoulder of the offensive around Elsenborn Ridge in the south and around Bastogne blocked German access to key roads to north, west, and west that they could have counted on for success. Now, columns of armored infantry that were supposed to advance along parallel routes found themselves on the same roads. This congestion and terrain that favored the defenders threw the Germans' advance behind schedule and allowed the Allies to reinforce their thinly placed troops. Now, the weather conditions were bad for both sides. Now, they blocked the Germans from getting farther into the land, which actually helped the Allies out. But the Allies' superior air forces were grounded, and that did not help the case at all, because they would have easily wiped out the Germans if the weather wasn't bad, because then they would have been launching their air forces and would have been able to blow up German supply lines. Now, with that being said, they were terribly, terribly slowed down. Now, the farthest west of the offensive reached was the village of Foy Notre Dame, southeast of Dieppe, being stopped by the U.S. 2nd Armored Division on the 24th of December 1944. Now, the improved weather conditions from around the 24th of December permitted air attacks on German forces and supply lines, which sealed the failure of the offensive. Now, on the 26th of December, the lead element of U.S. General Patton's Third Army reached Bastogne from the south, ending the siege. Now, although the offensive was effectively broken by the 27th of December, when the trapped units of the 2nd Panzer Division made two breakout attempts with only partial success, the battle continued for another month before the front line was effectively restored to its position prior to the attack. In the wake of the defeat, many experienced German units were out of men, out of equipment, and the survivors retreated to Siegfried Line. Now, this was the end of the offensive on the German part. Now, it ended up in an Allied victory, which was exactly what the Germans wished it wouldn't have. The whole point was to push the Allies back and retake the land they have gotten, but to the part that they were not able to do that. And unfortunately, many of the people died, and on both sides, and it was just a very, very bloody battle, and very costly, and it was just a nightmare for some people because of the weather conditions. Well, thank you for listening on this episode, and I hope to catch you on the next one.